everybody. It's been a while since I've done one of these, I suppose. I hope you can hear me okay. I hope the wind isn't too present. If I'm a bit squinty, it's because I've lost my sunglasses. They were right there, you know, and then they weren't. It looks like I'm being squinty and rude. I'm not. I'm just suffering in this low light. I tried to make this video already, but the Wellington wind was so horrific, and for some reason I'm like, I prefer doing life updates outside. Finally a mild day came along and here we are. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Things have been a bit shit for most of us for the last year and a half nearly. Goodness me. Thought I would just give you a wee bit of a clarify as to why I've been such a useless person, I suppose, for such a long time. I'm not looking for sympathy or anything. I'm really not. I merely just serve as explanation. I've been doing these live streams very regularly, so I know that a lot of people really don't know what the fuck's going on with my chaotic life. So I thought I would elucidate, and I've been criticized for having a chaotic life, but so it is. Really, it's just because I've tried to do things that were hard, and sometimes when you take risks and try to do things that are hard, they go well, and sometimes they don't. I'm here on the Kapiti coast of New Zealand. There's the sea over there. I've always sort of believed that everybody who lives here must just be relaxed all the time, because it's lovely. The tide's out right now, so the beach is looking a wee bit mostly like sand and driftwood and birds. I've been in New Zealand since September 2019, living out of a suitcase. Basically, when my relationship ended over in Germany, I had to leave the country because the visa I was on was done through marriage. Basically, as soon as that was over, and it had to be over, that was it really. So as soon as that was over, so was my time there. The lady at the immigration office had suggested perhaps I try going for like a self-employment visa. I still kind of intend to do that. I don't really know. I have thought about having another crack at going to Germany. I wasn't at the time all that keen on staying there anymore, because it was just quite difficult and lonely, but that just might have been the situation I was in. It might have been different under different circumstances, surrounded by different people perhaps. There's a small dog come to play with me. Hello! Let me cast my mind back a couple of years. There's so much more in every situation, isn't there? Like, there's always so much more I could say. I don't want to just kind of whinge and go on. I'll just try and give you the salient points. I already explained to you that after I left Germany, I tried to sort out a working visa in an English-speaking country that I've always loved, that being Scotland, where I sort of consider, like, you know, the motherland, you know, it's like where my family has come from on both sides for like hundreds, maybe thousands of years. I always feel very much at home there. I love it there very much. Unbelievably difficult, nigh impossible to get a visa for the UK. People don't seem to realize, who haven't like experienced immigration before, how hard that is. Having really nowhere else to go and thinking, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna have a real solid crack at shifting here. So I moved all my things over there to a wee flat in Paisley, which is near Glasgow. And while I was in Scotland, things were just, I was still recovering then from a very terrible dark patch of mental health. And all the things that had gone wrong up until that point just kind of broke my spirit, you know? And while I was there in this flat in Paisley, I just really, for the first time in my life, became depressed, which may surprise you. I probably look like the kind of person who is often depressed. I've had like a panic disorder my whole life, but I've never been depressed. So I truly, for the first time, became depressed. And if you've experienced depression, you'll know how it's not sadness, it's like a complete hollowness, you know? It's like you don't just lose desire to do anything, or you don't see a point in anything anymore. It's harder to explain than that. I kept thinking, like, I didn't want to kill myself, you know, but I was thinking like, well, if I found out I was gonna die, I wouldn't really care. Really like lost everything, like things that I normally enjoy doing. I stopped enjoying, say, putting on makeup or like doing anything, and I had all these really fun ideas for stuff, like for vlogs that I wanted to do while I was there, and I didn't do them. I was just on my back all the time feeling hopeless. And while I was there, my dad was really ill. Like, he was convinced that he was going to die. Thank God he's alright now. He was in hospital for quite some time. That was very stressful and upsetting. I'm in this other country by myself, my dad's in hospital, and then my nana died. My nana, who, like, I mean, she was quite old, you know, but like it just sort of suddenly happened. I was absolutely devastated, you know, you can imagine. But it was one of the lowest points I'd felt in my entire life, and this was fresh from like just being in a period of like horrific like grip of panic, the panic disorder. My mental health had gotten so bad in the time before that, you couldn't tell on videos, which is quite impressive, I think. Like when I was filming things, I felt like I was radiating weirdness vibes, like you could tell that, like, you know, something wasn't right. Like I never felt like I was in my body, like I was watching myself do things and hearing myself talk and stuff like that. And basically I was having panic attacks like every day, and I couldn't go outside without having a panic attack. I couldn't eat anything without having a panic attack. Every time I saw my ex-husband's face I had a panic attack. It was dreadful. So, you know, I tried to improve my life. It didn't work out. Things just sort of gradually got worse. And also I had nothing. By the time I was in Scotland and moved into my flat, I had nothing left. I was living off a box of porridge for a week. Unfortunately, porridge is an excellent food. So I had to leave the UK in September 2019 because that's when my visa ran out. I flew back to New Zealand and moved into Mr. L's apartment, which was that was the place I'd been living at before. It was a very small, cramped, tight, windowless affair. Like there are windows, but because it's on the ground floor, like it's hard to sort of explain. It used to be a shop, so literally there's the window and then there's the footpath with the street and like road and people and car parks, and there are people like pissing on the door and on the walls like every weekend. There are people doing drug deals right outside the door. Somebody smashed our window and booted in the door, and it was just sort of perpetually dark in there all the time, so not really conducive to good mental health, you know. I spent a wee bit of time down south with my parents and my family there, which was very nice, and I started to feel a bit more like me again. But basically just since then, so for maybe the last couple of years, I've just actually had you know, you can't just snap out of depression. I am on medication, and I've been on medication for a long time. Learning to like live with depression is something new, and I know that it's probably not going to last forever. I bloody well hope it doesn't. For a lot of people though, it just sort of never goes away. It's something you just have to learn to live with, to deal with, to cope with, whatever. It's been a new experience. Not only is it incredibly hard to be productive when you're depressed, but anything you do create is not that good. I mean, unless you can really put your feelings into music or something like that. But like, I don't like just whinging online all the time. Maybe it seems like I do, but I super don't. I don't like to be negative. I don't like to bring people down. I like to be positive as much as possible, because I know that a lot of people out there experience terrible shit, and the world is full of terrible shit all the time, so I like to create a respite from that. I like to have a nice positive place online that we can come and hang out and talk and be nice to each other, right? So I don't like to whinge and be negative, but you know, at the same time, life isn't always grand, so a bit of both, really. I know that a lot of you can absolutely understand where I'm coming from when I say that depression isn't just about being sad. It can make you totally useless, and it's not just about not caring anymore, because I cared, but I still didn't do anything about it. And all I've done is make myself feel worse, because I have let down so many people in the last couple of years because of all this. And I just can't keep making excuses. It's just like, I'm sorry, I'm just fucked up, but I can't keep asking for endless patience. When I say I've let people down, I don't just mean like you, my Belfry Bet family. I mean, you know, you probably noticed I worked with and collaborated with a lot of wonderful companies, and you know, small businesses and things. You know, people who like make things, and like clothing, fashion companies, and like jewelry companies, and cosmetics companies, and all that sort of thing, from the big to the small. My inbox is literally thousands of unread messages, and it's just like the guilt of having let down so many people who I really value makes it worse. And I'm like, I keep thinking in my mind like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna get around to it. It just seems like a gargantuan task, really, trying to unfuck so many relationships, because I really love helping out the goth scene, the community, people who contribute and, you know, make things, people who make artists who make music, people who make beautiful things. Find the things that I think are the best that you will also like and share them with you. I want to continue doing that. I love doing that. I feel just like I've really let down so many people, and that is a really, really shit feeling. And not just that, but my friends too. I have this wonderful thing that I do when I'm miserable, which is not want to burden anybody with my misery, so I completely just won't talk to anyone. I'm already the worst communicator on the planet. Like, I don't think I know anybody who's worse at keeping in touch with others than I am. I'm not proud of that. It is a huge flaw in my personality. I don't really know how to fix it, but maybe one day I'll figure out how. People assume that if you don't talk to them, that you're angry, that you're angry at them, or you don't like them anymore, which is bullshit. I think about people all the time. I care about people, and I feel really guilty and terrible all the time for not having kept in touch. And when I do eventually get around to talking to someone, it's wonderful, you know. It makes you feel like lifted and boosted, and the human connection is wonderful. Really, I've just spent the last couple of years, not, like I said, not wanting to die, but being like, well, if I was found out I was gonna die, I wouldn't really mind. I've never been like properly like suicidal, like no. I mean, if I were, like, I would definitely just go straight to like a hospital and be like, please help me. When I was in Germany, I desperately needed therapy, and I couldn't find anywhere to get therapy. I couldn't find an English speaking therapist, and I'm coming back to New Zealand. It's very expensive, and my mum keeps saying, I'll pay for it, and I'm like, no, it's so expensive. I've overcome shit myself before. This isn't my first rodeo with terrible mental health. It can take a long time to overcome things, but you just have to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You just basically have to keep moving forwards until you get to the other side. So I'm like, well, I've done it before, I can do it again. It's just a bit shit in the meantime. If you have ever experienced depression, you'll know that things such as getting dressed is like a big achievement. Combing your hair is a big achievement. Getting out of bed is a big achievement. And it sounds pathetic, but like, that's what it's like. It's rubbish. The thing is, when you do have a mental illness, you can't expect eternal patience from people. It does come back to you having to deal with it yourself at the best you possibly can. If that means reaching out and getting help, definitely do it. Anyway, on a bright note, my bottom's getting sore. That's not the bright note. On a lighter note, some good news. Things are definitely improving. Like I said, I'm here at the Kapiti Coast in New Zealand. I've been here in New Zealand since September 2019, living out of a suitcase in Mr. Owl's little flat, wherein we were sharing a single bed. Very hard to film videos there. Every time you saw me filming a video in there, it was in like the corner of a cupboard. I'm not shitting you. I had hung up like a white sheet in a cupboard to film in, and it was just real hard, man. So here's the good news. We moved. I still have all my worldly belongings in Scotland, because my plan had been last year to get married between March and May, go to Scotland for a couple of weeks for a like little honeymoon or whatever, go back to my flat, then spend about 3 months in Germany going to all the festivals, partying, seeing everybody, sorting out a visa there, and then basically figuring out what to do with our lives thereafter. But of course COVID happened. And it became impossible to do those things. After we got the window smashed and the door booted in by some drunk guy on a Sunday morning, it was like, that's it! We're going. This is quite far out of Wellington, right? It's about an hour's on the train outside of Wellington, but it's very, very pleasant here. Most of the people here are elderly, so it's quiet and it's safe, and it's right beside the beach, which is lovely. We've moved into a proper house, a real house, with rooms and a lawn and a proper kitchen. I can I'm already like making meals. Oh, it's funny the things you really come to appreciate when you don't have them for a long time. It also has 2 bathtubs, not 1, 2 bathtubs. There's even a white picket fence. It's marvelous. And I've got a whole room just to film in. I'll be able to actually do my normal videos again. Oh Obviously I haven't been able to do any of my travel vlogs. All the traveling that I wanted to do around Europe and the USA and Canada and Mexico and all that hasn't been possible, thanks COVID. I wish that shit would fucking hurry up and be over. We'll get there eventually, so I'm just like, well, I'll try and do some New Zealandy stuff, I guess. I did like a couple of wee vlogs down south. I hope you saw them, hope you enjoyed them. If you haven't yet, please go watch them. They're very, very beautiful, I think. New Zealand's basically paradise, but it's pretty boring. We don't have like goth music festivals here. You'd be lucky if you get a dozen goths together in one room. Maybe you've noticed I've been doing a lot of live streams and Twitch. I've been doing Twitch as well the last 2 or 3 months, I think. I started doing Twitch. Mr. L got me into it. I was like really resistant to the idea. I really didn't want to do it, but actually I've been really enjoying it. I find it really interactive. It's quite fun having all like the little emojis and things. So basically I've been doing these live stream just chat videos every week as a way to kind of keep active while being depressed. People don't seem to realize a lot of work goes into YouTube videos, and when you're a depressive sack of crap who has no energy and no will to basically breathe, producing anything of any quality is pretty difficult. And I'm like, I don't just want to be like making shit, you know? So I've been doing these live chats just while I've been like coping with the whole being miserable and depressed type of thing. I'm always like nervous to do them. I'm always nervous to do them every week. I'm like, oh, afterwards I'm like really happy and it's great because everyone's so nice. God, I've said it so many times, but this community is amazing. Accumulation of like nice people. I'm so lucky that my Belfry Bat family are some of like the best, coolest, loveliest people you could possibly ask for. I'm very fortunate to have you. So I always do tend to feel quite good after those chats. I think that's basically it. Does that answer questions and slake confusion? My lack of activity, why I'm here and not in Europe. I guess of all places to have been trapped during COVID, New Zealand has to be the best one because we got on top of COVID right away and it's never really been a thing. We had like 1, maybe 2 months of lockdown. Basically we've just been living like normal for more than a year now and like just waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. I'm having dreams all the time that I'm in Scotland and I'm back at my flat, and then I'm like, oh, it's not a dream this time, it's real, I'm really here. And then I wake up, I'm like, fuck, I'm still in Wellington. Brains can be such trolls. Basically my plan at this time, I still have every intention as soon as it's possible to visit the UK, maybe probably bring my things back here, because I am paying 2 lots of rent and that is not ideal. It's making it incredibly hard and impossible to save anything. I really don't know. I really don't know. Like the situation, as you know, in different countries keeps changing like every day basically, so it's hard to make any kinds of future plans in the stupid bloody COVID world we find ourselves in. Realistically, the best thing to do is to make this our kind of permanent home. Save up to do like a big trip every year so we can still see everybody and still do all the fun things overseas. It's almost definitely the best thing to do. Thanks very much for listening this whole way through if you have. Now that I have the space and a bit more presence of mind, I will be doing my absolute level best to be uploading again as frequently as I used to, so you know, at least 2 times a week. And I will still continue to do the live streams, and I will still continue to do Twitch, because that's, like I said, quite fun. I would like to say that this is me being like back on the internet properly. So you know the rules. As always, take care of yourself, be nice to each other, and I will see you next time. Bye!